And welcome back to Square Off. For years, Republicans have argued that DACA was an illegal constitutional overreach by President Obama, and courts would ultimately rule his executive order illegal. Well, President Trump agrees, and now he's given Congress a 6-month deadline to legalize DACA, or it dies. So, can Congress get the job done? And will Arizona play a role in legalizing DACA, or even killing it? Joining us for our left-right debate, Roy Herrera, attorney at Lewis Rocha Rothberger Christie, a former federal prosecutor and former Capitol Hill aide, to Democrat Ed Pastor, and Constantine Curard, a Republican consultant at the state and federal levels with his firm Grassroots Partners. So Arizona has the 6th largest population of DACA recipients in the country. They also oversee some of the harshest treatment here. Former Governor Jan Brewer barred them from getting licenses, driver's licenses, though courts have ruled they can have them. That's still up in the air. They couldn't, now they can. Now they can't get in-state tuition at the state's colleges. So make that part of your picture now and show us the bigger picture. What is at stake if Arizona's 28,000 Dreamers lose their deportation protection? Roy.
Well, I mean, quite literally, I think their lives are at stake. I mean, we're talking about people that have been here most of their lives. They're as American, in my view, as you and I are. And, you know, now, essentially, because of this decision, they're facing deportation to countries that they have no familiarity with. And also, of course, you're facing, you know, family separation and things like that. So quite literally, their lives are at stake. And now we're in this 6-month waiting period to see if Congress is going to do something. I am of the view that Congress is probably not going to be able to fix this. So then, essentially, you've got all these people, as Attorney General Sessions has said, and some other Republican lawmakers have said, that go back to living in the shadows if they're going to stay.
Okay, that's the big picture. What's the big picture for you, Constantine? What's at stake for Arizona if they aren't protected?
Well, yeah, they're sympathetic stories, obviously. You feel bad for folks who have their lives disrupted in that sort of way, and obviously their parents are the ones who are at fault. It becomes a part of this larger debate on what we're going to do about illegal immigration, and that's what really Congress has this opportunity to step in and fix a whole bunch of stuff at once, and this could be that spark that gets it done. I think Roy's probably right. I think Congress will either do nothing or do the wrong thing. That's usually where the smart money goes. But they have a chance to fix a lot of things at once. I just don't know if they have the courage to do it.
Well, we're not getting things off to a very hopeful note here, although I suppose some people would like to see it die as well. Big business is on the side of the Dreamers in a really big way. We're seeing that here in Arizona. The Arizona Chamber of Commerce and Industry supports the Dreamers. The Restaurant Association supports the Dreamers. But Constantine, how much clout do they really have in getting things changed in Congress?
They have a certain amount of clout, but you have to remember they've always supported amnesty for everybody. It's not just for DACA recipients. They want amnesty across the board for everybody. So this is a chance to get amnesty for some, and they'll take that as sort of a temporary victory. They have a certain amount of clout with people, but I don't know. I mean, this has been up for debate in Congress a number of times, and Congress has never gone all the way through to approve this sort of an amnesty. So the question is, you know, they have clout, but obviously they haven't had enough historically to get it done all by themselves. Is the mood different today? If this is something that actually Trump actually secretly wants to have happen, does that move Congress? Does it give some of them cover? We don't know.
One new piece of that, and you're absolutely correct as far as their clout in the past, you have a new tier of businesses. Silicon Valley's in this big time. Major corporations are in this, kind of like what we saw with SB 1062 in Arizona. Big businesses, major American corporations playing a role. Does that change the equation at all in Congress?
Well, it might. I mean, let's think about what we're talking about here as far as who these Dreamers are, these DACA individuals we're talking about. I mean, for the most part, I mean, they all don't have criminal records. They mostly are highly educated. They, over 90% of them have jobs. They are, I think, net, if you're looking from a purely economic perspective, net givers or producers in this country. They pay taxes and all of that. And so if you're looking at this from an economic perspective, it's actually good for America to have these individuals stay in this country and, you know, start the next, you know, tech app in Silicon Valley, or, you know, do what they are already doing, which is all kinds of jobs. So
let's shift to the politics real quick. Which Republican politicians in Arizona should be most concerned about this debate as we head into a midterm election next year?
Well, we're going to have all the statewide offices up, so you're going to have, obviously a lot of activity. They're all held by Republicans right now. They're going to have to take a stand, I think, on, or some sort of position on this issue. Obviously, the Attorney General position is going to be very important because, as we've seen since the DACA decision, we've got a number of state attorney generals that are now challenging the DACA decision on constitutional grounds. So, I think that's going to be part of the argument. Is our Attorney General going to stand up and fight for the Dreamers or not? I tend to believe that if it's a Republican, it's not going to happen, but that's what's going to be at stake in the elections.
How tough is this for Republicans in the midterms and congressmen like David Schweiker, congresswomen like Martha McSally?
I think most of the congressmen are pretty solid in their districts, and they represent their districts' feelings pretty well. So I don't know if they're necessarily at stake for much of this. McCain and Flake have long been advocates for amnesty, so that's kind of baked into the cake already. Most Republican statewide office holders aren't really held accountable. There's no sense, going after a corporation commissioner or a Secretary of State candidate or a treasurer on your position on a federal rule. And as for the Attorney General, his job is to defend the law, not to try to promote policy. DACA, the executive order, was unconstitutional. You can't have the president saying, Congress didn't make the law I wanted, so I'm going to simply make the law I want. So he's certainly not going to challenge to defend an unconstitutional act. But I think the governor's taken positions, so I think a lot of the higher visibility folks have taken positions because they're called on.
Okay, we'll get to your thought in a minute. I got to move on to our next segment.